Call the regular meeting for the Village of Tinley Park Plan Commission to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll call.
Croner,
Here.
Stanton,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Engel, Manny, Gatto,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Augustiniak.
Present. Okay, looks like we have a quorum. Staff, are there any communications?
Not at this time. I'll have your notices for public hearing in a moment, or did you put them up already? Okay.
I do have the notice for the public hearing.
Now, we can do that when we get to our public hearing.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 18, 2018 meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion was by Commissioner Augustiniak and seconded by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor of approving the January 18, 2018 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, the first item on the agenda this evening is going to be the public hearing for the adoption of the 2017 official zoning map. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
That's Commissioner Croner and seconded by Commissioner Kern. Okay. Staff?
Is there, do you have anyone you need to swear in? I don't think you plan on testifying on the map? No. We don't need anyone to swear in. Okay. Public notices, I believe, are up on your desk. Barbara gave you those? Okay. So we had discussed this in our workshop. I think what really needs to be made clear here, we are not rezoning any property. Nothing is changing from what hasn't been already officially approved by the village. Statutorily, we're required to do this once a year by the end of March. So we look back through the year and look and see what we've actually changed in terms of map amendments. And there are two. There's one at 17800 Highland Avenue that was rezoned from R1 to R2. And then there was an annexation of the First Baptist Church on 179th Street. There was also some changes made as part of an adoption. If you recall, the legacy text amendments that began back in 2015, they were rescinded in 2016. And then in 2017, we adopted just those aspects that corrected a lot of the Scribner errors, left intact any of the land use issues that seemed quite controversial at that time. This lists the 14 of them. They're really fairly minor in nature. Many of these had already been corrected on the maps, or the legal description was changed. Nothing constitutes a change in zoning on those properties. This is just corrections on a map. Those are the particular sites that were addressed in that ordinance this last year. And then the other thing you do when you clean up and look at a formal, an official adoption of the map is you make sure that you correct any errors that you discover. And if you recall, when we did the residences, we discovered some errors in the zoning of the properties that we were reviewing. There were 3 PIN numbers mentioned there in your staff report and on the PowerPoint here that actually needed to be noted as R6. We also took the opportunity to correct those other 2 existing developments of condos that were also zoned R6 but never noted on the map. So those were the only changes made with the official adoption of this map. I have a motion on the screen, if anyone would.
I make a-
After you close the hearing, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Thank you.
Jumping the gun.
Paul, let me just say one thing from a town perspective. I am not sure why the development that's going on over in Brookside Place was given to us first time and then immediately thrown back to us sooner than these changes were made to the zoning map. These should have been made back before we got the Brookside Place plans a second time, because that would have taken a lot of confusion out of what was going on with the neighbors, because the neighbors were still saying it, and we were asking for it. I'm not sure who makes the decision as to when you guys bring up these zoning changes each year, but if you're going to bring a project like that again, that there's some concern about potential errors in zoning, that we really should address the zoning issues before we see the plans for the development, so that we can say unequivocally to the residents, this is what's going on. Now, we discovered this the first time they came up, but nothing was done to make those changes. I mean, we got the attorney involved, and he made some statements for the legal jargon, but what we didn't do is answer the residents' questions about what is this R5 or is this R6, and it would have been so much easier to put a lot of the questions that were brought up the second time this came up if we would have done this before we got the second round.
You can't, that's why. It's statutorily, you look at it, it's a year end, it's sort of like a budget.
Well, then you know what, then we hold off on bringing back Brookside Place until after we get these questions out. If you're telling me you can't bring them back, you can only bring them back 1 year later, the zoning changes?
No, what I'm telling you is that what a village, statutorily, every community looks at its zoning map at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Okay? Any changes that were made to the zoning map throughout the year are reflected, or any corrections are reflected
Mhm.
when there's a formal adoption, and the formal adoption has to be done by March 31st.
Understood?
When projects come throughout the year, just like the residences came, and correction or errors are discovered as they were, those are noted throughout that review process. And they were clearly noted several times in the residents' review. I'm sure, as you're stating, there was a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of disappointment on everyone's half that we couldn't find the documents that we had. But we requested a legal determination from the attorney, and he gave one based on the documentations of the annexation agreement that noted that those properties were zoned R6 as part of that adoption of the annexation agreement, and that there was no subsequent rezoning of those properties to R5. There's a million theories I could make why somebody along the years mapped and changed the map. We have maps, and I don't really want to spend today, but we went over all of this in the public hearing. We actually showed you zoning maps where they were R6 and then they changed to R5. Should past staff have caught that? Absolutely, they should have. In their defense, you don't know you have a mistake on the map until you're actually working in that area. I bet there are still errors in the map. It just happens. And then throughout the year, Peter, to your point, because we have more sophisticated systems now and GIS systems, we keep our map up to date. Like when the Talea project was rezoned, we made it correct on our website and on there, but it's not considered the official map until the end of the year, when you can wrap everything up, you guys approve it, and it goes to the village board, and they approve it. So there's really nothing else that could have been done. I appreciate your concern. I think there's more to it on that project. It was just such a confusing project, but it really can only be done at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh, thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody else in the commission have any questions, comments? No. Okay. All right, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Augustiniak. All right, may I have a motion to recommend the zoning map for approval
I make a motion to recommend the, oh, sorry.
I think we
Go
have to
ahead,
vote.
make a motion.
I think we have to have a vote on closing the public hearing. We've got a motion on the
just-
table.
Oh,
We
I
just
thought
did,
we
I
just
thought.
did. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay,
We had
we-
a motion first and a second?
Second, yeah.
Did.
Right, but did we vote on it? I didn't think we voted on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, voice
We just need
voice vote.
Voice vote.
Voice vote, yeah. All those in favor? Aye?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
I make a motion to recommend to the village board the approval of the 2017 official zoning map as represented in Exhibit A.
Second.
All right, Secretary, please roll call.
Augustinian,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
Gatto,
Aye.
Curran,
Yes.
Croner,
Yes.
Stanton.
Yes. Okay. Item number 2 this evening. We have a presentation this evening from Jeff Meck and Antonio, and I'm sorry, Halley, Antonio Halley, from the Environmental Enhancement Commission.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing us to come out and speak to you. Jeff and I are very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you guys about some things that we're very passionate about. And in just a few moments, Jeff's going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we do at the Environmental Enhancement Commission. And looking forward to partnering with you on some of the things that you're working on. We feel like would be a really, really good fit for both of us to get involved. As I look back at what we've done over the years, we're in a process where we're kind of changing what the Environmental Enhancement Commission can do. We're switching from just the spring cleanup to maybe taking a more proactive approach in initiating conversation with the village employees and just trying to maybe communicate a little bit better with residents and creating some awareness about environmental responsibility, how it affects some of the buildings that we're doing, some of the upgrades that residents might be entertaining. And so we feel like this would be a fantastic time for us to kind of come out and talk to you and get some of your feedback and some of your opinions. In preparing for this meeting, I took a look at the Planning Commission mission statement. And I noticed that in your second line here, commissioners are charged with preparing and, that's right there. Commissioners are charged with preparing and recommending to the village board a comprehensive plan for the present and future development of the village. I couldn't help but realize that in your mission, you're concerned with the future, the planning future of the village. And in my mission, as far as the Environmental Enhancement Commission, our first line states, the policy of the village of Tinley Park is to provide, maintain, and ensure a healthful environment for all citizens, as well as for future generations. We're both concerned with the state of Tinley Park in the future. And I feel like what we can do together would be fantastic for all the residents. Technology is efficiency, and efficiency is the future. And what we do at the Environmental Enhancement Commission is find ways to be efficient, environmentally responsible. And I couldn't see another way of maybe expressing that to you guys other than seeing that our mission statements kind of align pretty similarly right there. I also want to just point out kind of a unique position that we are in as far as volunteers, and I've learned that you guys are all volunteers as well today. But a unique position that we're in as volunteers, when we meet with residents, sometimes I think maybe residents might have some strong opinions and maybe some strong feedback that they have to say about certain things. At least that seems to be common with some of the village employees that I've spoken with. And when we're out there at Discover Tinley or when we're at our spring cleanup, and people maybe voice some of their opinions and maybe have some suggestions, some feedback for us, it's really nice to be able to say as a volunteer, hey, I really love that feedback that you have. I think that that's a great suggestion, it's a great idea. Let's partner. Let me maybe introduce you to some other volunteer efforts that you can seek out and maybe take some of that feedback and those concerns and take some action and making those a reality and kind of help the village as opposed to maybe necessarily, have an opinion and maybe just kind of let it fall right there. I think if maybe more people understand that they have the opportunity to take action and to better our village, then I think that they'd be pretty open. And I feel like that would be a great way for them to express themselves and also make this place a little bit better for all of us. So with that, I will turn it over to Jeff so we can kind of give you a little bit of a highlight of what we've done over the last couple of years. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thanks, Antonio. Again, I'm Jeff Mack with the Environmental Committee. Thanks to Ken for having us tonight and Paula for setting this meeting up. I too am excited about the prospects of our committees joining forces. There's just much more awareness today and concern of environmental issues and climate change. So it makes sense that our groups will at least be in communication together moving forward. I'm going to start with a little background on our commission. In June of 2013, Tinley Park signed on to be a cool city. Of course, at the time, it was a completely different mayor and board, but Mayor Zabraki was all for it. So being a cool city essentially means signing a non-binding agreement to reduce carbon emissions within our village boundary. Carbon emissions being coal, oil, and gas, 2% per year from 2009 baseline levels. So being non-binding, it's not as if Cool Cities is checking up on us or checking up on our progress. And there are towns that sign up for it. They sign up to be a cool city and they don't do much with it. Is Tinley Park one of these towns? Not quite, but there's a lot of room for improvement. I have a list of different projects around town that are environmentally friendly. I'd like to run down here briefly. We have 3 fairly prominent buildings that are LEED certified. The Panduit headquarters, the Moraine Valley South Campus, and the Coles near I-80. Is everyone familiar with LEED certified in here? Yes. With the acronym? Yeah? Yes. Okay. Everyone got a handout. I'm just going to read quickly Wikipedia's description of LEED. It's an acronym of Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. LEED is one of the most popular green building certification programs used worldwide. Developed by the nonprofit U.S. Green Building Council, the USGBC, it includes a set of rating systems for the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of green buildings, homes, and neighborhoods that aims to help building owners and operators be environmentally responsible and use resources efficiently. So you have this in your handout. And then I would encourage everyone to go to usgbc.org because the U.S. Green Building Council is who administers the LEED certification program. There's a whole bunch of information on there. So these 3 buildings, I'm not sure at the time if Tinley Park offered incentives to build these, but maybe they did it on their own initiative. But Tinley Park can absolutely offer incentives like this to owners and developers at, as an example, the Mental Health Center property. And this falls under exactly what your commission does. Bike lanes. We have bike lanes that go up and down 167th Street from 84th Avenue to Harlem, and also along Oak Park Avenue in the downtown area. Tinley Park residents who choose to ride a bike over driving a car contributes to lower carbon emissions within our village boundaries, and these riders deserve to be as safe as possible. Trees in Tinley Park. I'm sure everyone here remembers the ash borer problem we had. It killed a lot of trees in this town. I think the village did a nice job of removing and replacing. The project finished and came in under budget, and at the time, Mayor Zabraki decided to buy more trees with the extra money, and I remember being very happy about that. One project that we're pretty proud of is the no idle zone in all District 140 schools in the parking lots and the drop-off zones, pickup zones. The signs read, no idle zone, clean air for our kids. Now, do all parents obey these signs? No. I've witnessed this firsthand. But if exhaust emissions are down even 50%, then it was worth it. We don't want perfect to be the enemy of good. That's one of our mottos at the EEC. So if you drive by the Orland Park Police Department, you know, you drive by it and at first glance you might think like, you know, are they letting their landscaping go? But it's not. It's a very purposeful landscaping design. It's prairie grass, so it's indigenous to the environment that we have, the climate that we have. And if you dig a little deeper, you realize that it doesn't really need all that much maintenance to speak of. No watering, no fertilizing, no mowing. So you're saving resources of water. It doesn't need a sprinkler system underneath it. You're saving money, and you're saving pesticides from the fertilizer from running off into the common sewer. So going green often comes with the side benefit of positive economic gain, especially over the long term. This is the main point that we wanted to convey here tonight. So back in August, the EEC voted to support a solar panel farm and an electronic vehicle charging station, taking advantage of the proximity to I-80 on 100 of the 280 acres at the mental health center site. I'll be very clear that myself and the EEC, we understand that this site is a very hot topic in town. But we just kind of put our stake in the ground and said what we would like to see there. We'd be happy to see more solar anywhere in town. It doesn't have to be at this site. So I'd like to break this down into two parts, and I'm going to start with the electronic vehicle charging station. A couple stats here. So the U.S. is set to become the largest electronic vehicle market in the world by 2020, within 2 years. Chevy and BMW both recently announced most of their entire fleet will be electric by 2024. So we all know what Tesla's doing and Elon Musk is doing. We're kind of used to him innovating. But when Chevy makes that announcement and BMW, that really should be noted. Tinley Park has to be ready for this. And I would say as of right now, we are not. An electronic vehicle charging station is not only for Tinley Park residents. There's enormous potential for attracting travelers on I-80, cross-country travelers, into Tinley Park, which no doubt would invigorate our local economy, because if they are traveling cross-country, they come in and charge up. Maybe they'll go to a restaurant, stay at the hotel, any other number of things that Tinley Park can offer. So I know one of the big questions on the site, the mental health center site, is the cleanup costs. Who's going to pay for it? It's worth noting that anywhere on the property where solar panels could potentially lie, the cleanup cost will potentially be significantly less because it doesn't take much to install a solar panel. You're digging down maybe 36 to 40 inches, which is far different from digging down 15 to 20 feet for basements and foundations. Just something to consider. Solar farms are popping up all over Will County. Frankfurt right now is currently planning a community solar farm. So the way they're setting it up is residents can purchase individual panels and receive credit on their electric bill for producing their own power. And a lot of this is happening because back in December of 2016, Illinois quietly passed the largest energy environmental bill in our state history. It was called the Clean Jobs Act. So the state essentially agreed to mandate itself to invest in these renewable energy projects. Tinley Park can take advantage of that. I have just a little note here, just to give a little idea, 100 acres, a 100-acre solar farm could power over 3,000 homes. So take that with a grain of salt. There's all different kind of solar farm designs, but just to get a basic idea on that. It's my observation that Tinley Park residents support the idea of solar. I put a message out on 3 Tinley Park Facebook sites after our vote, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. I was even a little bit surprised myself. We all know how hard it is to get positive feedback on social media. I believe on one site I got over 50 likes, around 50 likes. We table at events like at Discover Tinley or at our spring cleanup, and we get feedback from residents, and it's a topic we bring up. And by and large, Tinley Park residents are for it when it's brought up. Going green in Tinley Park has a lot of potential for good PR. We have a good contact at the Tinley Junction, and I'm confident they'd respond well to any environmental initiative taken here. A couple more points. Antonio and I have met with Patrick Holben a couple times. He's a smart guy. He's got a lot of knowledge in this area, and he is particularly interested in getting solar on top of industrial buildings. And Ken, in an email, mentioned the same thing about offering incentives to owners and developers of industrial buildings to do that. So there's so many areas we could branch off into and talk about, but I look forward to hearing feedback from each and every one of you. And it's true, we are very excited to collaborate and support what you're doing, and hopefully vice versa. So thank you very much. If you wanted to have more discussion or Q&A, we're up for that.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I mean, I think it's extremely interesting. Really start thinking about it. I mean, the possibilities are unlimited in that, especially the charging stations. How many charging stations do we currently, are there any around here now, or what's the closest?
The only thing I know about in town is that Kohl's, because they're LEED certified, and they have like two ports for 2 cars.
Okay.
But there's not a charging station.
Okay.
We actually have one coming to you for Tesla. I think there's six or 8 stations they're requesting at Brookside Marketplace.
Oh.
So we're just getting information, bring those forward. And then we
Good.
just got an application for another one at, but it's really for private use at the Bob Hansen's mixed-use building there, where Dunkin', on 183rd, Dunkin' Donuts, and what else is in the bottom of that? Just east of Otimo's and 350 Brewing.
Right,
That little
right,
mall.
right.
So but that's going to be
Down by Culver's, right?
inside.
Down by Culver's over there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But the Tesla, I think, I'm bringing that before because we really need to look at the site plan.
Mhm.
Because they have some pretty large pieces of equipment associated with it that I'm concerned about.
I mean, it would be great to find, if we had something like that, at least for a, like you said, just a testing area, just to see how.
I think there is a pretty relatively good-sized charging station close by. It's in Country Club Hills in the Lowe's parking lot, and
I've seen that.
yeah,
I've seen that.
it's
They advertise it.
Dude, I didn't realize that they advertised it, but they do have, I think they have maybe 10 charging stations there. And, I've seen, 6 or 7, usually it's just Tesla cars there. I'm not really, I'm sure that they're equipped to be able to use, like a Chevy, like the Chevy Volt, or the Neon Leaf is able to charge there as well. But it's not far at all from us. It's right off the
I'm not
highway.
thinking countryside, I'm thinking of, just immediately east of here, where the big outlet mall was supposed to go.
No, Country
That's-
Club.
Yeah, that's where he's
Country
talking
Club
about.
Hills, yeah.
That's what he's talking about. That's
Oh,
what
I
he's
said
talking about.
countryside.
No.
Country Club Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Are those ones that they're building, can any car hook up to them Or is it for certain models, like you were saying,
Well,
Tesla?
this one is a Tesla only, but I
Yeah.
think these other ones are more universal.
It's my understanding
Correct.
that the Tesla ones are proprietary.
They are.
Right.
So we're talking about one that can take anything. Chevy needs, yeah, that can charge any kind of vehicle.
And now, like the ones that they have at Kohl's, if someone plugs into them to charge, is it an hour? Does it take a day? How does the
Not a
charging
day.
stations work?
I would say, right now, they're probably at like an hour, hour and a half. Like that technology, as we speak, is being worked on because they want to get it less.
Less time, yeah.
But yeah, it's not like as quickly as filling up your gas tank yet, but they're working on it.
Right now, it really only takes an electrical permit, but if it has site planning implications, I'd like the Plan Commission to look at it because, you know, there's signage equated with it, and they're fairly large structures. You know, some of these should be screened, so anything that kind of requires any kind of a footprint, we bring forward for a Plan Commission. But solar panels, for example, there's nothing in our code prohibiting that now. It's electrical permit. You know, I think there's a lot of things in it. We're a built up community for the most part. You know, a lot of green site communities will have conservation design as part of their development standards. We don't have something like that, but we are working on a new landscape ordinance, and there's certainly opportunities to do conservation planning and design and native plants. Our engineering standards, we've talked about getting those up to speed, and there's design basin, stormwater basin guidelines that could look at native plantings. We have had some discussions just at the administrative level I know the mayor's been interested in implementing a bike rental program, Zagster?
Mhm.
Is that what it's called? I can't remember.
Zag. Yeah.
Yeah, Zagster or something like that. So I think being mindful of it, certainly in our reviews, but also being purposeful and looking at our code rewrites as we go through them to make sure that we're being sensitive to sustainable kind of design and land planning is important.
Paula, when you mentioned, as far as the large footprint for the equipment, for the charging stations, did you have a specific vendor that you're referring to that has
This
this larger?
Tesla one.
This is the Tesla one.
Tesla,
Okay.
the usual ones, like the one at Kohl's, are fairly benign.
Yeah, they're.
But Tesla is huge. They not only have the charging stations, which they make very tall, and I think they do that for marketing purposes.
Mhm.
Then they have the generator, and then they have a transformer. I mean, it's a pretty big operation. I'd be glad to share the plans with you if you want to.
Yeah, that would be
stop
fantastic.
by and we can show you.
And then as far as the, when you're saying the native plants, and so as far as those ordinances, because we've worked with a couple different engineers that have maybe proposed rain gardens, and they found grants and things for us to be able to kind of, implement that for our spring cleanup event. But is there, who could we talk to about maybe just some of those ordinances and maybe just getting some?
I'm the only one here.
All right. All right. All right. So.
But I can tell you, I actually did a master's thesis on sustainable development. And
Excellent.
I've been
Awesome.
involved in communities that have more development opportunities and wrote a lot of those conservation ordinances.
Okay.
I think the emphasis might be different here in terms of making sure that we just don't have any impediments through our building code or through our zoning ordinance,
Mhm.
which I don't see that there are any right now, but I haven't spent a lot of energy looking at it. We've not had a lot of requests.
Mhm.
I think I asked Jean how many solar panel permits, and I think it's like 1 or 2, that have been requested.
For residential?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of another thing that we've realized, I guess, at the commission when we're meeting. There's a lot of people, they don't still understand how to even start. Like a solar panel, I don't think anybody would say, hey, free energy is terrible, as it's a bad idea, or hey, it's a bad idea to reduce your carbon emissions. I don't think I've gotten that response from anybody. But what I do hear a lot is, where do I put a panel? What does that cost?
Right.
What's the investment? How long can I save that?
Really regulate it. If it gets on the ground, then that becomes a different issue.
So one of the initiatives that we would like to put together is to kind of put together an idea, maybe kind of like a guide as to how a homeowner can start. For example, you wake up one day and decide, I want to have solar panels on my roof. This is where you need to go. You need to check this out. We want to kind of create a packet where we can have all of, the permits that they require, that the village requires, ready for the resident, so they don't have to go and contact this department and contact that department. So we're looking at putting it together as easy as possible.
That's a great thing for volunteer communities or committees to do. Like we had the Rain Barrel program. I mean, the village does have green initiatives.
Maybe you could
But-
develop something that's solar energy for dummies.
That's exactly what we were
So
thinking.
people starting from ground
Yeah.
zero.
We won't be the dummies, so we'll.
No.
The expo is a great, don't you think the expo is a great opportunity to get the word out on some of those things?
Absolutely.
Or I would call our marketing department, we have the village newsletter, there's opportunities for education in that. We have, we're launching a new website next week, there's certainly opportunities there. So I think there's,
So you're saying right now, if someone, I guess we went into the residential realm, which is fine. If I wanted to put solar panels on my roof and I came to the village, you're saying, right now, the process is fairly easy. You won't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to
no, it's
get
an
it
electrical
done?
permit.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the main thing the EEC would like, if any resident wants to put solar panels on the roof, that they
Yeah, I
won't
imagine the
have.
structural load that the building department would want to look at.
Yeah, look at the
I can't
roof to make
imagine
sure it can
for-
handle the
For a
panels.
home, though, I wouldn't imagine it's going to be that big of a panel for a home, right?
No.
I mean, it's,
Not really.
It all depends. You could fill your whole roof with it, or you could put a couple panels,
Right.
Yeah, but and that's also another issue that people have is, I guess the more obstacles you have to getting something done, you don't want to do it more, so people don't even know where to find a solar panel or what a good solar panel is, and how do you even evaluate a rating. So when we put this, solar panel for dummies kind of a thing together, I think it'll help people realize that it's not a really big, difficult process. When we had started offering the rain barrels to residents, we partnered with MWRD to do that, and then we put a guide as to how to install the rain barrels. We did a lot of communicating to residents about that at our spring cleanup, and then also at the Discover Tinley. And from what I understand, when I was talking to, was that Public Works? I think Public Works. They were flying off the shelves. When I got mine, when we got ours, we didn't get the colors we wanted because MWRD got so overwhelmed with all the orders, specifically from Tinley. We had a lot of people requesting them. So we actually got a call from MWRD saying we're canceling the program in December. So they had to
It was
cancel
too successful.
It was too successful. It really was. It really was. So, but that's because we constantly were talking about it and trying to make it as easy as possible for people. So we're hoping that we can make things as easy as possible for people to understand. Solar panels, maybe composting, maybe green gardening. Or depending on your area, maybe upward. Gardening. All kinds of different things.
maybe a thought would be is like they have the, like smart houses. They'll have those in different areas. There's maybe get something that they working with the solar panel companies and say, hey, we got a couple homes in Tinley. Would you be willing to, they're willing to have this put on their home and then get them in an area in Tinley that's got a lot of high traffic that people see it when they're going by. And that'll give somebody an idea of what it is and what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you drive around town, it's hard to spot someone
Yeah.
with solar panels. I think if we get a few around town, people
Yeah.
will
Yeah,
look into it more.
exactly.
So thank you.
Just a couple other points. Brookside Place, the new development that we were talking about earlier, they will have, I think, 2 charging stations to start out, but they have plans for up to 6 to 8, depending upon demand. So as the developers are coming in, they're understanding this, and it's something that's been brought before the commission as well. So we commend you guys on that.
Great to hear.
Just a thought from my perspective, if I were you guys, I'd get a hold of these guys who want to do this Tesla thing and work in concert with them and bring it before the planning commission, the board, and staff. It's not out of line for you to share the contact information for these guys to
No.
get in touch with them, because you guys could be the impetus right behind this thing with Tesla to bring it to Tinley.
be
Because I think
awesome.
it's a great idea, I really do.
Absolutely.
Great.
So,
Thank you for that.
absolutely.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys
Great
are
job.
involved in a lot of
Thanks
interesting
for having
stuff,
us.
so.
Yeah, we'll stay in
Good luck.
touch.
All right.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right.
Definitely. Thank you. Okay, good of the order. Staff, do you have anything to present?
probably my best news is we're making headway on staffing. I'm hoping to see the building official appointed next Tuesday. It's just got a couple more,
Great.
checkoffs, go get a physical and so forth. And we have had an acceptance for the planning manager. We're just waiting for those background checks to go. And I think I saw about 9 resumes have come in on the senior planner so far, so
Awesome. Great.
very excited about that.
Great.
Software also, because that's my high priority. We did a site visit today. That's going very well. I'm trying to get the building official in here so he can help me with that. Residences, we were talking about them. They came in this week and had set up a meeting with them and Eamon Malone, who was the property owner there, so we can get all the timing of the road improvements done and the stormwater. I think a lot of the residents had concerns about that stormwater pond, so get that taken care of. Primal Cut wants to do an outdoor courtyard, so working with them on that.
An outdoor, where would they put that?
Where are they gonna put that?
Pardon?
Where would they put that?
In the back.
In the back, the parking lot?
West
right
side.
there? Okay.
They'd lose parking?
They would lose their accessible parking there. They are not required to provide any parking as a downtown core district.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but there is some parking immediately west of there that's owned by the village. So, text amendments, I'd like to say I'm making headway on that, because I'd like to get that on our next agenda. But I haven't had time to finish them yet. It's been pretty busy. Which actually I had, I just closed down my computer. I'm just trying to remember, because I got some questions on my next meeting here. Yeah, we're still waiting for Southwest Christian School. They kind of were delayed in getting their plans to me. I still don't have plans. But my hope is that we'll have a workshop on that. And if we don't, I'll keep you guys informed, but unless I get these text amendments done, we really won't have an agenda for the 15th. Except the Bank of America, if they get their stuff into me for their fence variance, I could have that. So, I'll let you know.
All right.
Well enough time.
Sounds good, thank you. Any public comment? I think so. Okay. All right, may I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's Commissioner Gray and Commissioner Augustiniak. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, good night.
Thank you. Good meeting.
Thank you.
Good job.
Stay.